Hey, hello. My name is Rain. If you're new here, if you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by. I am apologetic about the ugly zebra print you can kind of see reflected in my device, but I did my best to cease reflections, and this is as good as it's getting, so yeah, you're just gonna get to enjoy that this whole time. But what are we doing today? We are talking about why I don't think you need art school from the perspective of somebody who didn't go to art school but is getting a degree in art. It's kind of convoluted. It'll make a whole lot of sense as I explain it, but that is what we're talking about today. And when I was thinking, what am I gonna put my like talking points over, I decided I just wanted to actively work on a project coloring some stuff while I discussed it, because I just didn't feel like any of the footage I had was matching kind of what I wanted to talk about. And then furthermore, I didn't want to have to worry about talking for a certain amount of time or fitting all of my points into this long of a clip or anything like that. So we're just going to color today. I'll edit out all of the loud noises. There's a video going up next week, or there's a video going up after this one, which is my first talking whilst doing something video. I will mention that in that video. I filmed that before this, like directly before this. But it's going up next week because the topic of this video is kind of precursory and kind of necessary for some of the things I talk about in that video. So there's that. And then, there was one more disclaimer. So I'm in a different room than I filmed that video in. My dogs are going to be a lot louder. I will do my best to cut them out, but if you hear loud breathing, and it's clearly not me, that's the dogs. I will do my best to cut out barking, snoring, all of that. There are like 3 of them sleeping right around me. Knocking my cord that plugs into my phone, which is my recording device, and hopefully I can edit that knocking out too. Sorry. With all that precursory stuff out of the way, let's just get into the talking. The chitty chat that I feel like is necessary for the precursory. Then we'll get into the actual reasons why. I do feel like I need to preface my college experience at least a little bit, because it was a bit peculiar. So, well, for an artist, maybe. I'm sure there are a lot of people with a similar experience to me. But I graduated high school and got into my college of choice back in 2020, when everything started getting a little bit unideal. And overall, it benefited me medically and academically because I didn't have to go on campus. My health was getting a lot worse at the time. It's way worse than it was before now, but I'm all at home now, so I'm stable. But it was very odd as a science major, a botany major, integrating to the online curriculum, like right into entering university. I had taken community college courses in science all throughout high school. I started attending community college courses concurrently in 10th grade, and I succeeded and excelled in them. So I was very accustomed to the college experience. I spent next to none of my high school experience actually in high school. I went to a public charter school. And I just didn't go on campus after 10th grade. To my memory, I might have taken chemistry in 11th grade. I really don't remember. I hated it on campus. I had some really mean teachers that I didn't vibe with. I had undiagnosed mental health conditions that impacted my learning, and they just weren't working in the high school environment. And my teachers weren't noticing, and I was struggling, so it just didn't kind of work out for me. And college worked out really well. A lot of your teachers are very much learn your way. It's very much study how you need to study. Submit homework within a certain reasonable thing. It's easier to get accommodations because you're not going through parents and saying, I feel like I have this, and your parents citing you on it. I was very much able to go to my doctor and say, I just can't do this. It wasn't as far as like the diagnoses for my mental health concerns at the time, but I was able to get help with my medical issues and applying them to the accommodations I needed, which was time and a half for pain in my hands and stuff like that, and testing anxiety. I was able to do that stuff. I wasn't able to do that in high school. They wouldn't let me get a 504, which I needed, which was unfortunate, but kind of irrelevant. College just worked for me though. It very much was a space where I kind of just fit. I fit very well in there despite my age. It was very much more the type of learning environment that I needed and wanted, to be entirely fair. I very much didn't vibe with the high school experience. Kind of irrelevant though, I fell in love with botany when I was 16 years old, taking a botany course, and that's what I went into college intending to do. I intended from the beginning of university in 2020 to be a botanist, to get my degree in botany, and live my best botanical life. I was healthier back then. Not that I was healthy, but I was healthier, and I really thought I could do it. I'm still getting my botany degree. I have to take some courses at a different college to finish it up just because my health won't permit me to go on campus anymore. However, generally speaking, I am going to get it done still. But there was a big moment there where I didn't know if I would be able to. I was kind of doubting my ability to actually finish the degree I wanted. And I had fortunately at that point been taking art classes every semester since I started. I had, from the start, fall 2020, taken at least one art class every semester for fun. I started with comics, actually. My first ever college art course was, my first ever college art course in university. I'll get into my community college art course and everything wrong with that in a minute. But my first ever university art course was comics, and I loved it. It sounded fun. I wanted to do it. I did it because it sounded fun. And that was kind of how I approached all of my college art for a really long time. Just, this sounds really fun. I'm going to do it. I did get a minor in art. That was my original intentions. Just botany degree with an art minor, just for fun, just for the hell of it, really, at the end of the day. And I was very happy with that entire kind of approach. I didn't need a art degree at the time, but there was a point where I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get my botany degree, and I started really thinking, I almost have an art degree done. So if everything does go downhill for me, I'll just do this. So in my third year of university, I think the second half of third year, I think I started the process first half, finished it second half. I started the process of getting a second degree on paper in the system in art. I started the process of getting an advisor. I started the process of finding a way to supplement the 2 classes I couldn't take on campus. I started talking to advisors and saying, hey, I can't do this because of my health. What can I do to supplement it? They had a supplementation already in the system for people in my situation. The particular thing was ceramics. It's replaceable with photography at my college for when this happens, and especially for people focusing in the 2D. And it was helped by the fact that I had been taking upper division courses the entire time. I wasn't taking the beginner art courses and finding my way. I went in knowing I was 2D, and I left knowing I intended to stay 2D. So it was nothing like, oh, she's not getting the experience of taking a ceramics course and won't know if they want to be 3D, which is the point of that area in particular, to my understanding of that part of the degree at my college. My script just vanished. Not that I'm following it. I have completely jumped to paragraph 5 and am supposed to be on paragraph 2 right now. It'll help me remember for later to swap photography out for that. So it worked out for me. And that was a thing in the system for people with my certain accommodations that I needed and had the entire time. So it was very much like this is already recognized. This isn't trying to get out of doing work. That was a very big thing when entering the process was, are you trying to get out of work or do you actually need it? I had these accommodations the whole time, so they were very ready to just let me swap that out without proving anything. I think that had I been going into third year with new accommodations that I hadn't already had, it would have been a lot more difficult, or maybe not accepted at all. So having my accommodations in was very important for me. I don't know if it will be for everybody else. I added my next degree. I finished my degree this coming semester, technically. I won't have it until I graduate properly, but it's going to be done. I just have a few more. I have one and a lab art history course. It's an art history course with a lab, and I'm taking it next semester. It's the last thing I need, and I'm done. So technically, the degree was faster to get than my botany degree, and I didn't even go into college wanting the art degree. I didn't think I was going to get it. I never planned on getting it. and I finished it before the botany degree, so that's something. Now, diving into my art experience in art courses, I took one beginner course in community college when I was 14 years old at the start of 10th grade. I was a bit young for 10th grade, I am aware. And I was taking the beginner art course, the basics. It was introduction to drawing or something like that. I really don't remember the name. And I had a bit of an older teacher, which usually isn't a problem, but this is one of the more one of those elitist art teachers that were like, you can only do art one way. There's only one true art, and then other art that's in that art isn't art. I don't know if that makes sense with how I'm describing it, but you know those people who are like, you're only an artist if you do minimalist, impressionistic, that type of stuff. The very specific genres within art are the real art, that type of stuff. That was kind of the experience. And I just never remember to change brush size. And I was disheartened right away by that, but I was not going to let that bother me initially. When I was 14, I really loved art, and I really wanted to do art. I didn't want to do it as a job, but I did love it, and I wanted to do it for fun, and I was really excited to be in this class. So I initially didn't let it perturb me, but as the semester kind of went on, and my teacher kind of continued to remind me that the art I was doing in my sketchbook, which was part of the homework, I had to use a sketchbook every day for the semester. Not necessarily show it on a weekly basis, but I had to have a 100-page sketchbook filled by the end of the semester, or a 50-page front and back. It was a requirement for the homework. And the stuff I was doing in my sketchbook was, I don't know if it's indicative of a 14-year-old artist, but it was very much the kind of I want to be an artist fangirling type of stuff. I was drawing particularly, I was copying the album covers for artists I really loved. I was drawing their album covers. I was drawing all sorts of stuff like that. I was super into it. I was super excited. I was really into album art. It was something I really much enjoyed, and that wasn't real art to her. Album art, book cover art were not in the scope of art that was real art, and I was not really prepared at that age to critically think about bad opinions, which that is a bad opinion. If you have it, consider your opinions and change them. But album art isn't real art, that type of stuff, and I was very discouraged at the time, and by the end of the semester I was very disheartened to the point where I just quit drawing. I quit entirely. I stopped sketching for fun. I didn't feel like I was worthy, because the type of art I wanted to make wasn't real. But I quit entirely until 2018. I was 15 years old. At the very end, I took about a year off from art, and I picked it back up again because I wasn't going to prove her wrong, but, put that in there and pretend that's what I was going to do. I just couldn't, I couldn't help myself. I really wanted to. I really wanted to do art. I really wanted to draw, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I didn't really want to quit yet, even though I didn't feel like I was worthy. And so I started. I made my Instagram account in 2018. You can track me back to the very day I made it. I believe my first post is still up there. I believe it is a 4-leaf clover and Shinedown song lyrics. I believe that is what it is. And I think that's my only fully colored pencil drawing. And I didn't know how to use them, and I still don't know how to use them, but I did it. But yeah, so generally it was a bit more of a for fun thing. And at that point, I had to teach myself. I didn't have an art teacher anymore. I took art in high school, but as I mentioned, it was a charter school. So it was kind of more homeschool, and I didn't have anyone to teach me art in that homeschool environment. So I was teaching myself. I was using YouTube. I was following YouTubers that I really looked up to. I was using social media and looking at artists I really looked up to and just kind of emulating what they were doing. Not really in a copying their art style kind of way, but kind of the studies they were doing. I very much referenced, because I liked character design, I very much referenced a lot of other artists whom I really liked the character design of in learning anatomy, which I don't necessarily recommend. I recommend you learn anatomy and then learn how to stylize it, but I didn't know any better at the time. I had no guidance. beginner art course doesn't teach you any anatomy. I never drew a person in that class. Yeah, I never drew a person in that class, so I didn't know. And it didn't bother me. But it hasn't impacted me very much. I've since learned, and I've taken anatomy, not twice technically. I've taken Life 1 and Life 2. But they're both just anatomy, basically. And ultimately, I went into university. I went into 4-year, and I said, I'm gonna take all the fun art classes because no one can stop me. It was very much science courses are fun and all, but they're kind of stressful, and I just want to have like a little light course that I can enjoy. And I need to change the line art color of the hair. I don't like it. Very much I want a course I can enjoy, and I enjoy art, and I'm gonna do art. And I'll love it. And I did. I took comics. It was amazing. And I continued on that path. I took comics, digital art, portfolio art, scientific drawing. I took stuff like that right out the gate. And it was very fun. I highly recommend all of those courses. They were very fun. I didn't take life drawing for a really long time. And that didn't bother me, and it didn't impact me, and it didn't stop me from drawing characters in portfolio art and getting praised for it. My favorite teacher of all time very much is the type of art teacher I think everybody kind of needs to have if they're learning art in an academic environment. A lot of my teachers in college, even though I'm at a college that's a lot more prepared, a lot of my teachers in college have still sucked. I've had a lot of bad professors. I've very much had my bouts of feeling like I can't be an artist because of college professors. I've definitely felt my failures because of the critiques I've gotten before. And generally speaking, I didn't learn a lot. I haven't learned a lot in art college as far as learning how to draw is concerned. I've gotten a lot of great curriculum. I've gotten a lot of great structures. I haven't gotten a lot of good tips and advice and explanations, which is what I need as an artist, which is the part that's like hardest for me to study. And that might be different for other people. There are other people who are like, wow, I really just need the structure and this. And if that's the case, maybe getting an art degree at a state college, not an art institution, is for you, like I'm doing. If you really need that structure, that foundation of where do you start and where do you end, I think that there's a lot of potential in state colleges for art courses because that's what they're doing. They are, in a sense, just kind of guiding you into learning how to teach yourself. And that's very much how I feel about my degree. I got a degree in teaching myself how to teach myself how to draw. That's what my degree is in. I have taken life drawing, to which my teacher did not teach anatomy once. She prescribed us. She gave us a book and taught us to teach ourselves. She'd critique it and be like, this is too short. Compare it to this. Good luck. Now, if that other thing was too short that you drew, so say like compare your calf to your forearm. If you drew the forearm too short, comparing the calf to the forearm isn't really going to help you fix your problems. Which was a lot of my classmates' kind of issues. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how to figure out our proportions. And we were left to teach ourselves how to draw. So I was fortunate enough when I took Life Drawing 1 to have already done a lot of character design and been already studying art, or studying anatomy. And my art still sucked, okay? My proportions were still super wacky. I very much struggled to move from my stylistic drawing to accurate proportions. I very much struggled with it. It was still not great. I still really struggled. And I had a really bad book, okay? I talk about it in my next video. I hate the Atlas for Human Anatomy or whatever. It's not great for what we were trying to learn. I much more recommend Taco and George Bridgman's books for teaching yourself anatomy. I do think that they are superior in terms of actually figuring out proportions. Taco a little bit more so, while it's more stylistic. It gives you breakdowns that just make some sense, okay? I really did not benefit from the Atlas of Human Anatomy. It was a bad experience. But I've taken these classes, and I've learned how to teach myself. My teacher didn't teach me, and it was a really bad time. It was really frustrating. It's really frustrating having your grade determined by your ability to learn a new skill by yourself. And it's very frustrating not knowing exactly or having an ability to look at a model in person and go up and measure them directly. Because this was online, and I will preach online art curriculum forever, but it's hard when you don't have anything to compare the body to. And when all of your models are sitting in a completely blank room, I think that's kind of an issue. You don't get to cheat. And I don't know if that makes sense, but you can't look at other objects in the room that you're more familiar with and compare the sizes. And that was something I really wish I had. I wish I had them next to things where I knew their exact sizes, and I could compare from my personal experience with those things and relate it to the body. Because while I have a lot of experiences with humans, like meeting humans, talking to humans, interacting with humans, being a human, everybody's proportions are very different. And in the online universe, it's very hard to not know how to compare the body to the body, because you don't actually really realize exactly what compares to what right away. I have a shorter torso and longer legs, and I'm very short. Comparing my body to things is quite difficult, actually, for drawing, which is odd because I use myself as a reference all the time. And it took me a really long time to figure out, well, this is what my legs are like in reference to this and that. And I have since learned to stylize my own proportions in a way where it's kind of indicative of my style at this point. Longer legs, longer arms, shorter torsos. If you ever notice that trend in my art, that's probably because I used myself as a reference. And I elongated everything to kind of match a better height because I am very short and I don't want my characters to be my height. It's not that being short is bad. I actually quite enjoy being short. It's very fun being small. But I don't think all my characters need to be 5 feet, especially all of them. I definitely have most of my characters actually being closer to 6 feet, but that's kind of irrelevant. But this is where we all learn that I'm really good at rambling, right? So let's get back on track. I've had a lot of teachers like that, and oddly enough, my all-time worst professor ever was the second required beginner art course that I needed to take. She was the worst teacher I've ever had, as far as art is concerned. My genetics teacher is like one step worse, and then she's probably second, maybe third. She didn't teach anything. And it was a very, very difficult experience. The only reason I was in the passing portion of that class was because I was self-taught from ages 15 to 17 when I started university. I very much don't remember anything from my beginner art course except for 1 point perspective and my teacher not knowing how to tell me how to do the tiles for 1 point perspective because they weren't the same size, which was a very awkward moment, but not really necessary for this conversation. I didn't remember anything from that. I kind of blocked it out because it was so upsetting. And I had kind of started from scratch when I was 15 and I started teaching myself again. And I wanted to learn art. And starting from scratch was the best option for me. It gave me the opportunity to put it into perspective in a way that made sense for my learning style. I wasn't accommodated at that time. I still didn't know very much. Well, I was accommodated for physical. I wasn't accommodated for kind of my mental needs as far as digesting information is concerned. So, however, as I was trying to say, I had been teaching myself for a lot of years, and I had been taking upper division courses where, I'm going to be honest, they don't use a lot of those big scary art terms that you learn in beginner courses. I literally didn't know what she was talking about from her vocabulary a lot of the time because she was using words that weren't in any other class I'd ever had before and weren't used online. They all came from her very bougie art masters at a very prestigious college. And she used kind of synonyms in terms for things, and it was always very awkward because there were a few other classmates in that class that had been art students for a long time and were coming back to this course who also didn't know what she was talking about. And there would be weeks at a time where students, over half of the class, had failed the assignment. I was never one of them because I understood despite not understanding. I understood the concept from my previous experience, but I didn't know what she was talking about. And I don't think I would have had this experience if I had any other professor. Like, genuinely, I think she was just very odd. She was very bad at explaining everything. She very much dismissed everything we wanted to say. She wasn't particularly good at answering questions. She was not very respectful to the mentally ill students in the class. I'm not talking about myself in this scenario. I am talking about a different student who had a bad experience, and it had rubbed me the wrong way as someone not in the same situation as her, but who very much knew people like her and empathized with it. She was very dismissive of those things. She glorified Van Gogh's mental illness and used that to articulate why he was one of the greatest artists of all time. She talked it up to being mentally ill as opposed to skill and passion and the pursuit of such, which, generally speaking, I just never condone. I don't personally condone saying that mental illness is what makes somebody great, because I don't believe that's true. I think perhaps maybe mental illness might make somebody more inclined to pursue certain things or do things certain ways, but I don't think that inherently makes them better than other people in any circumstance. And I very much did not appreciate that kind of outlook on his life and his drug addiction and that sort of stuff, but that's kind of irrelevant. I did just kind of personally feel disenfranchised in that moment. I felt very bothered by that ideology, and it was kind of a experience that I'd only had in that course, and it wasn't great. It really wasn't. But more so getting back into why she was not a great professor, she just kind of failed us for not understanding what she was saying and refusing to give us examples. She said that when she gives her students, previous students' work, they just end up copying it, subconsciously or not, and that she can't trust us to be original. And because she couldn't trust us to be original in a beginner art course, the first beginner art course at that college, this would have been the second one back at the community college, we didn't really understand what she was saying half the time. She was very bad at describing things. We had to go to lecture to understand the homework because her text was just do what we discussed in class. And so it was very difficult, kind of in retrospect, even if you did attend, to know what you were doing. And because we didn't have examples, none of us actually knew what she was seeking because none of us had any kind of reference to understanding, and it was just a generally really bad experience. I've been kind of disenfranchised with college art courses a lot over the years. I've had good professors, one excellent one pretty good one. He let us pick our homework. We basically came to class for YouTube tutorials on how to use Adobe Good, which was fine. You can get that online, of course, but it was good. We basically were able to get very personalized Adobe tutorials, which was helpful. But I've had more bad teachers than good teachers. And the good teachers I've had have been good for very particular reasons. And that is the reason why I don't think that we need art college necessarily. I don't regret my experience because it's not the only degree I'm getting. And I don't think I would regret my experience, or I think that because of the career path I hope to have in art, I don't necessarily regret my experience, but I don't think I needed it. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more. The best part of being in art classes in college has been the peer experience. The people who are best at critiquing art, I found, especially when you're learning, are the people who are passionate about art alongside you. The people who are best able to explain why your piece looks wrong are people who don't necessarily know exactly what they're talking about, but desperately want to know. Are people who have that curious edge to them where they just want to be an artist, they want to know how you did it, and they don't have the professional experience to be able to really just look at it and understand. They take a lot of time to break down and say to themselves, how did they get this? And why does it not look right to me? And I found that my peers are the best people for getting critiques from. Better than my professors altogether. Even my really good one, whose entire critiquing process is, this is really great, but if you did this, it would become more dynamic. And she gives you Example, she will do a digital sketch mock-up, and it's great. I recommend those. Teachers who do digital sketch mock-ups to explain why the art isn't looking as good as it could are the best, because just explaining it isn't very helpful for me as a visual learner, which I imagine most people in the arts are pretty visual learners. So I'm just saying that one. Like personal anecdote, those are the best. Best critiques are digital mock-ups of why your art isn't as good as it can be. So that's very much, well, this is all personal anecdote now that I think about it, but take my words with a grain of salt, okay? Generally, I value my classmates' critiques more than my professors, and that's entirely dependent on if you have good classmates, ones that really want to help you get better and aren't doing it for the grade. And that comes in the upper division, not the lower division. Lower division students, you have a mix. Maybe they're economics majors and they're taking this for a requirement and they don't want to be here. That happens a lot in lower division. And I'm not saying that's bad. I think that people having to take art classes, or generally having to take art classes, is a good way to round people out. Not that I think everybody is necessarily going to be artistically inclined, and they might feel very defeated being in art class, especially if your art teacher is as bad as that beginner one I had. Stuff like that is how you disenfranchise people from art, and you make them feel like they're not good enough. And I don't think anybody in art ever should feel like they're not good enough to do art. I think everybody can create art, and it doesn't have to be good art for it to be art. And that's something I'm very firm in. And you can argue with me about that. I might make a video on it sometime. But I don't think that art has to be good, ever. It definitely helps, but it's, well, maybe not so much anymore on social media. But it used to help to have good art. Not that I can judge. This was very much a learning experience for me, and I don't really know how it's going so far. I very much value my classmates, a lot of the times more than my professors. I think what we really need as artists, and what art college is best for, not art institutions, art in college is best for, is the peer experience. And I don't think we should have to go to college and spend a lot of money to have that peer experience. What I would want more so from us as a community is to be available as peers in the internet spaces. And I wasn't around for DeviantArt really. I know it's still around, but I very much haven't been trusting it lately. I'm very scared to go on DeviantArt until I have more information about the lawsuits going on around AI art and all of that. And I haven't watched any informative videos on that matter, and so I'm not ready to speak on DeviantArt in any further capacity. But I wasn't around for DeviantArt really. I'm a bit too young for MySpace, and so but I don't think we should really need to go to college for community. And frankly, one of the things that I'm very sad I missed out on was having a community in art in the first place. I didn't happen to be on social media when having an art community was one of the easier things. And I very much am sad that I missed out on that experience and wish that I got to have a community. Not a community of people, because while that is harder on social media now, I do have people who are interested in my art that aren't artists, which I really appreciate and love. However, I wish that people who were artists were easier to connect with, so that we can have that self-critiquing and that friendly critique in our own space, and have community events and challenges and stuff like there used to be. The type of stuff where when I'd watch YouTube when I was younger, I thought, wow, I want to make YouTube videos like that. And when I get a phone when I'm older, I want to be able to do art challenges like this. I don't even think 3 marker challenges are popular anymore. I'm not really sure about that. I wish we had a stronger art community for people who want to meet other artists, and I wish I knew how to do that. Maybe there is one out there, and I'm just not finding it. Maybe it's a thing, and I just don't know where to find these people who also want to be friends with other artists and have art friends and stuff like that. There are people I meet on social media, and we talk in DMs every once in a while, but it's not like a community. It's more like an interpersonal relationship. And I just wish there was more community. And I think that that is like the biggest part of college, is community interaction with like-minded people. And I don't know that if the art space online was like it used to be, if I would still feel like art college, my botany degree has been completely worth it. Because it's not as easy of a skill to learn at home and then get jobs with. You know, it's one of those you need a degree to get a job type of fields. So, not quite like art. Not as easy to self-teach. I don't think that I'd feel like my art experience has been as worth it as it is if it was easier for me to make friends in art. I don't know. I don't really know that I'd feel the same way. And I don't have any friends from college. I can admit that wholeheartedly. I haven't made any college friends. I don't have anybody who I'm going to miss when I graduate. There's nobody I'm going to be able to look back on when the semesters end and I'm gone, college is over, where I'm going to miss them. It never happened for me. I didn't have anyone like that. And I don't regret not having that. It didn't happen naturally, so I guess it wasn't meant to happen. But that wouldn't be an issue if I was just making friends online in the art space. And I was finding like-minded artists. A lot of artists at my college are not more in the character design sphere. They're more environmental. Yeah, a little bit more environmental kind of focused. So generally, I wish I had art friends. I want art friends, and I don't really know where to acquire them. Send me your applications below. No, but more seriously, that community aspect, while it's not something that I get to carry on in life after college because I didn't make any friends, has been the most beneficial part. And I think that if the internet space was a little bit easier to find like-minded artists on and make friends with them, that our college or university wouldn't have been as worth it. My teachers, well, some of them were really good, some were really bad. And that's going to be that way for all art colleges. I'm not going to say that just because mine was a state university and not an art institution, that art institutions are going to have exclusively great teachers. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that if I've learned next to nothing aside from how to teach myself, I don't believe that going to an art college is going to inherently make it so that you learn so much more than you can ever learn online. Art college is for making connections with people in industries. They're for making connections, and I don't think you necessarily need to be at college to do that. I don't think you need to be at college to do that. I think you can make connections at conventions. I think you can make connections online. I think you can reach out to people and make connections that way. If you're not trying to go into one of those big industries like Disney, Pixar, big animation studios, I don't think you need to go and make those connections and spend a lot of money to do it. Connections are always going to be great, but do you need to spend $80K in debt? Do you need to go $80K into debt to do it? I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily the solution. Not unless you have really big aspirations. Not if you have very ambitious art dreams, which I never have had. I've never once wanted to work at Disney. I've never once wanted to work at Pixar. I've never wanted to work at these big places. It's never been my dream. And if it's not your dream, I don't necessarily know that you need to go to an art institution. I've acquired a lot of value out of my degree in terms of the community experience, the people I've met, and curriculum. Hello, Future Rain here. Of course, I forgot an important topic that was in my script that I missed because I'm a much more stream of consciousness type of speaker. One of the really fundamentally enjoyable things that I have found in being in the more state university sphere that is part of why I really don't feel like you need to go to an art university is you meet such a broad demographic of people in the art of varying skill levels. You don't have to submit a portfolio to get into art at a state university. And there's something so charming and just amazing about getting to grow as an artist with every level of people. You don't need a portfolio. You don't need AP art. You don't need to be good to be in these beginner level or these state university courses. And yes, the dogs are a bit more rambunctious now, I'm sorry. But there's been something so much more magical for me about getting to watch the art journey of people who love art and want to be art, but didn't have the resources in high school to be able to do art, or didn't have the confidence, or didn't feel like they had the ability to pursue art. There's something about not being around a bunch of people who applied because they were good at art in high school, took AP courses and all that. That experience has been really fun for me. Being able to watch other people grow and to be able to like run into them in classes later down the line has been a very fun and enjoyable experience for me. And that's also a big part of why I prefer and don't think I ever would want to go to a art college. A college just meant for being an artist. There's something I very much enjoy about watching everybody else grow up and glow up artistically that I don't think I'd get quite the same at an art college. I don't think I'd get if I didn't go somewhere where anybody of any skill level can be admitted, where you need to have a good portfolio and know how to make a good portfolio to get in. And that was a really big part of why I was like making this video and discussing this topic, because not everybody can get into an art college at all, to be completely honest. I don't think I could get into an art college, even with my portfolio and my skill set. I've taken multiple portfolio classes, and I don't think I could get into a college that requires those types of things, because I don't know that my art is necessarily definitive in a way where anybody would want me. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Because when I see artists who are in art universities, I feel like their work is already very remarkable. I very rarely feel like I look at somebody entering their first year of art college and think, wow, I can't wait to see where they end up and see how they grow. It's like, wow, what can I do to be that remarkable? Or wow, I wonder how they executed that technique already. It's like I want to learn from them, and I don't really know. Maybe people want to learn from me. Maybe I'm just kind of putting the art college people I see on a bar that's a bit higher than they need to be on. But to me, I just always feel like everyone has such a remarkable portfolio already. And I definitely didn't have the opportunity in community college to learn how to make a portfolio, because I only took that one art course, and I generally don't think they even had a portfolio class there. But I did want to pop in as Editing Rain with a completely different illustration, just a little warm-up for the day, and say that I feel like you get to meet a lot of very excited, fresh faces, and really watch a remarkable progression the more state college realm, where people don't know what they're doing going in, and everybody, including myself, even though I had been drawing for a long time beforehand, is kind of naive to what art really is going to be like. And there's something very fun about that, and I very much enjoyed and do still enjoy it. This is another part of why I really like taking the beginner art history classes, even though I'm more in the upper division level. I very much enjoy watching people discover art history for the first time, or certain parts of it, and it's so much fun. I really mean it. It's a lot of fun. Overall, I do want to add that in, where I feel like you're more likely to get accepted and get the opportunity to learn with people like you at a state college. Not saying the people in my audience are not equipped for art institutions, of course, but I don't know. I just never feel like when I see people in art colleges that I really belong in their crowd. Not that I've ever met them in person, but seeing them online, I always feel like they're very away from me. And I think that also kind of alienates me from even really ever having been tempted to go to an art college. I think that's why I'm so determined, if I get my master's, to go to a college with people who are a little bit more like me, I think, and enjoy having a lot of diversity in the people that are around them in my courses. I am excited to see the people at that college and maybe interact with the lower division art students from time to time if I choose to go to it, which I may or may not have mentioned the master's degree possibility yet in the video. I'm not sure where I'm going to place this in editing, but overall, I've just been very enchanted, I suppose, in my time at college, seeing people of all different academic levels come together in upper division and lower division classes. And I don't necessarily know that you get that quite as much at an art institution where everybody kind of already starts on a specific level and goes up from there and is in the art realm. I guess it would be exciting to meet art professions outside of the one you're in, but I quite like working with economics students or wildlife students. You don't see them as much as you think in the botany realm. And engineering students, they're a lot of fun. So I did want to pop in and mention the very important part of I like seeing people on drastically different paths than me. And I very much value that about my college experience so far and wouldn't change or get rid of that for the world. So I also don't think that an art university could have offered that for me. So I know it's a very privileged way to put it, but I got a Cal grant because my GPA was really good. And I applied for a lot of scholarships. Some of them I do get due to my help, and some of it I get due to being really determined in what I want to do. I want to educate people in some capacity with art or make a change with art for disability or just general social issues at all, but mostly disability and science, I suppose. I'm very passionate when it comes to art and science about representation and about the world being more open to disabled characters and about the world having more disabled characters to look at. And that's just always been a thing for me. Even when I wasn't planning on going into art, I very much valued and I wanted more disabled characters. I wanted more people who were like me, and I wanted to feel represented, and I wanted to feel represented, and I wanted to feel like there was a chance for me in the world. And I don't think that that really exists still. I really don't. I don't watch a lot of movies, but it's very rare that I feel like there are people like me in the media as far as like animation and character design goes. I do think it's a lot more common now, but that's just always been something I care about, and I'm very firm in my desire to create those things, bring it to the world and all of that. And so depending on your dreams and your career path in art, I don't necessarily know how much you can benefit from that tip. It's very much dependent on what you want to do with your art. I just happen to have wanted to do something with art that's kind of a hot topic at the moment. I definitely don't think doing illustrations on the deterioration of flesh and the loss of will to live is very beneficial. I mean, look at how jaundiced I made this woman. She looks like a zombie and Left of Her Dead, but that's the point. I feel like a zombie in Left for Dead. And I am going to wrap it up with frillies and pinks and everything that people associate with femininity, I suppose. Overall, I don't really feel like I needed any of the experiences I had to find my way. I don't even know that they were particularly formative, but I don't regret them. And I generally personally feel like if we had a stronger art community, my college experience would have been kind of negated. It wouldn't have been anywhere near as like beneficial, at least, as it has been. And thus, if you're not in a financially stable situation, or you're in a situation where you have to spend a lot of money to go to college, I really genuinely don't think that it's necessary. At least not for art. I very much do not feel like, I don't feel like sitting here that if I had gone into debt for this, it would have been worth it. I don't know if that makes sense. But I don't think it's worth debt. I don't think it's worth financial hardship. And thus, if you can't go into university without it, I don't really know that it's going to be that wonderful. I think that you're better off learning independently in an independent space, teaching yourself, working with people who create like you, studying artists, watching YouTube videos, or honestly, not sponsored, Skillshare, Udemy, anything where it allows you curriculum, or a certificate program could be really nice. Anything that allows you a more pure interactive thing and self-teaching is going to probably be just as good for you as my degree has been. I don't really think that this experience was wonderful. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't wonderful. And I don't think that if I was getting a degree, if I wasn't getting my botany degree, I don't think that this would have been worth it. I really don't. It's hard to say because my botany degree is what I came here for, not the art degree. But I just don't really know how much it would have been worth it. I don't know that I would have stuck through with it. I've learned so much more online that I just find it hard to imagine that college was really necessary. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you are in the financial place and you really want it, go for it. But if you're not, I don't think you need it. I don't think that you should have FOMO about it. I don't think that people who want you to have FOMO about it are great. And more particularly and more, hopefully not nuanced, a lot of the people who are in art colleges, like institutions for art, seem miserable. And I don't really understand why people enjoy going to college to get degraded and to be discouraged and to kind of have their own dreams crushed. I guess the structure is probably really nice, but outside of those connections, art colleges, like institutions, always seem like bad experiences for the artists who are in them. I very rarely see people who look happy to be in art college, and I feel like more and more recently I've been seeing a lot more artists talk about how they don't feel like you need art college either, or why they didn't really feel like it's necessary for everybody. I hope that that provides some sense of comfort or perhaps some sense of finality. I don't know. And now let's get into that curriculum that I've discussed where I do feel like it was helpful. I've gotten a lot of great book recs from professors. Those will be in my next video where I talk about all of my art books and what I collected being self-taught. But what I actually really recommend as an artist for teaching yourself, which is what I did before I even got into university, is a lot of colleges will have their syllabi published on their websites. And I recommend Googling a college either you want to go to or not, or even just reaching out to professors you find on the website and asking for their syllabi if you can't. But figuring out the recommended course program, so like the sequence of courses, maybe it'll be for easiness, Art 100, Art 102, I don't know, like Art 100A, Art 100B, whatever that sequence is, finding those, looking at their descriptions and stuff, and then trying to find the syllabi online or emailing the professors associated with that course. Not all of them will give it to you, but following the syllabi is going to give you the exact structure of the course, the order in which you're supposed to learn things, and then find it on YouTube. Find YouTube tutorials. Find former art professors and just listen to them talk about those things in that order. It really will grant you the illusion or the experience of being in a structured course at your own pace. And I really do feel like that was more beneficial to me overall than actually being in the courses themselves. I often during the summer, I wouldn't take summer courses most of the time. I worked one summer. Haven't been able to get a job this summer, unfortunately. But that's alright. It gives me the chance to do the YouTubies for you guys, so like that's alright. But I would just kind of follow along with syllabi for future courses I wanted to take, courses that were only offered on campus but I wish I could have taken, or sounded really fun, or maybe didn't sound as fun but I was interested in. And I just kind of followed them along, kind of watched people online do them and worked along with them. I watched instructional videos from professionals. I know Proco here on YouTube is very well loved and stuff like that. And I've just kind of generally found that that's been very beneficial for me. Perhaps some people value a more structured environment, but I don't really know how much in art relying on that is going to really appear. I feel like I'm particularly kind of in the sphere that's a little bit more freelance and self-sufficient. My art creation, my disability character designs that are up for debate on whether you like them or not, to be completely fair. All of this is a bit more kind of focused on the self. What can I do for myself? So perhaps you benefit a lot more from that structure. Not a bad thing, of course. And you might really want to be on campus or in a structured environment for that. I personally find the syllabi is all I need, really, to structure it myself, find it online, find professionals and stuff like that. But, okay, that's what I was going to say. But I did find for the things that were a little bit harder for me to self-teach myself, not that they were hard, but it's a little bit harder to figure out where to start, I guess I would say. New Masters Academy here on YouTube, I'll link them down below, is what my teacher literally required us use for life drawing to do our daily gestures, or weekly gestures. We had to do gestures once a week. 5 1-minute, 5 2-minute, and 2 5-minute. Some New Masters Academy videos have a 10-minute gesture. I do recommend it. I did enjoy it. And I think that having places like that, New Masters Academy, Line of Action, they allow you to do clothed and unclothed figures. Line of Action, I think, has animals. I think they have animals and hands and feet as well, on top of like nude and costumed artists. There's a lot of opportunity for exploring things and being surprised. The costumes one is always a surprise. It's like, what are they going to be wearing now? What do I have to, on the fly, be able to break down into simple shapes? And I think that's really beneficial. The process of doing gestures, New Masters Academy, I do believe has a lot of other instructional tutorials, stuff like that, really is all you need, ultimately. I don't think you have to go to college to be successful in art. I don't think that you should let people make you feel bad if you didn't go to college for art. And I think that everybody has their own path to success, and I would generally very much like for us to be able to kind of break away from the college mindset when it comes to art and stuff and make learning a little bit more accessible. But Skillshare, New Masters Academy on YouTube, Proco on YouTube, other artists on YouTube, I think are going to be more than enough, and I don't think you need to pay for your education per se. And if you do pay for your education, I think it would almost be better to pay for a certificate than a degree. And if you want to get a degree, I think it's better to think about getting a state college degree than an art institution. Art institutions are very expensive. They don't necessarily have the greatest rep. If you're seeking out something beyond or below the experience of working at Disney or Pixar. And even then, there's very particular universities or institutions for art where you get those opportunities to be seen. But if you're not really seeking making connections, I don't think you need a degree. I haven't made connections. So maybe you should use me as a case study. If you think I needed connections to succeed in life, and we will see when I start entering the professional sphere a bit more. We'll see. I haven't made any connections yet, so maybe I'll eat my own words very soon. Now is for a bit of a moment of hypocrisy in this video. I actually want to get a master's in art. However, I don't want to get the master's because I think it'll give me a better chance at success, per se. I just have unfortunately found that one of the very viable fields for art that I would love to go into, which is the kind of art management side of studio work, art management, art organization, art director would be my ultimate goal. I need a lot more hours in that field, years in that field to even be considered for it ever. But that's kind of a sphere of art that I particularly am really interested in going into. And I found that the pay is a lot better if you have a degree. And I found an affordable master's degree program. I think we will see if it stays that way. If it doesn't stay that way, I'm not doing it. I don't believe in expensive degrees at all. I want to work in art management, and I found a college that offers a master's in art management. Well, it's an art degree with a focus in art management. And I'm thinking about it. I might not do it. I'm still kind of on the fence, but I've been thinking about it for a while now. I wouldn't mind falling back on teaching at a university and making the changes in art that I want to see. And so, I don't know. For now, I'm very on the fence about if my personal path in art is going to put me in that situation or not. But I'm going to be honest and admit that it might be my situation. It would be very wrong of me to say that you don't need a degree in art and not admit that there are some fields where you need it. And teaching is one of them. University teaching. I'm not interested in teaching at a high school, but that's one of them. And also, I want to go into management. I want to work on keeping all of the art stuff together. I might get a master's. We'll see. Maybe I'll do I get a master's so you don't have to video. It also depends on how much it costs with tuition and scholarships. I very much am currently in the kind of scientific art realm, which you need a degree for. By the way, scientific art requires a science degree. Part of why I'm very deep in my degrees. But I'm very interested in working in scientific art as well. I'm very interested in working in textbooks. So clearly I have a wide breadth of stuff that I'm considering for when I get done with university. And I have a wide breadth of stuff that I'm interested in engaging in when I get out of university. So we're really going to see where I end up. Maybe I'll be a small business owner. I'm very up in the air. I do feel like I don't need to actually know if I'm going to get my master's degree to say that I don't even know that my bachelor's degree was worth it, which is concerning for my master's degree, based on the community aspect that I've experienced. I think that a bachelor's degree in art just isn't what it used to be, perhaps. I think that there's a lot of great artists online, and I don't necessarily know that we need to focus on these degrees. I don't think I would be substantially less successful. Not that I'm successful, but I don't think I'd be substantially less successful than I already am as far as like social media is concerned and all of that if I didn't ever take an art class ever. I think that there's so much room for teaching yourself. I think that there's so much room for learning how to draw, and as long as you have the discipline to want to learn, you don't need to be here in the university space like I am. And I guess I'm really just repeating myself at this point, and maybe this is just kind of a diary entry. I don't know that my degree has been worth it in art. I don't know if I'm valuing it at what I should be. I don't know if I'm going to benefit from it. I certainly don't think it would be worth the money if I wasn't just kind of adding it on to a botany degree. I'm pretty confident in that it wouldn't be worth the money. And I'm going to actually a fairly affordable college, and even more affordable staying at home. I probably wouldn't be able to afford my degree if I didn't live at home, to be fair, without debt. So, can you afford it if you go into debt? Probably not. I don't think it counts as affording it if you go into debt. That's something more financially savvy people can answer for me down below, but I don't know where my future's going to go. I think that college is actually known for a sport. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to a college that's most known for a sport than anything else, so maybe I'm really screwing myself over here. We'll see. We'll very much see. But I hope that this video was intuitive in some capacity or beneficial in some variety. I hope that my thoughts are taken. I hope that my thoughts kind of maybe help somebody think about or process where they stand on art college, or perhaps help somebody determine if they feel like it's worth it or not, or maybe make people who can't go and get degrees in art feel a little bit better about their decisions or make you feel a little bit more firm in whether or not you want to get a degree in art. I do think that it's been kind of helpful to just kind of analyze my own experience in getting an art degree and whether or not I even feel like it's been worth it so far. I think it makes it easier for me to kind of analyze, do I even feel like I'm benefiting from my own academic experience? And I think it helps to talk this stuff out. So I do hope that somebody benefits, enjoys this conversation that we're having here today. But moreover, I'm very much talking and rambling, and this is going to be a lot to edit. So like, comment, subscribe if you're interested. You don't have to. You can dislike if you want to. And I hope you enjoy my video next week on the best books that I've been recommended in college and all of that jazz. It's very much a different kind of video for me. There's no drawing in it, so it feels different for me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you are. And I really appreciate you sticking through this entire video. Bye!